This is SleepFader, where mindfulness, music, stories, and sound design come together to remix your inner dialogue, bring down the stress and worry levels, and dial in your best sleep. I'm Jeff, and I'll be your companion, bringing you an original blend of mindful moments, music, and soundscapes, all rolled into a continuous story that evolves with every episode. And with that, welcome to this first installment of SleepFader. I've designed this series to help you unwind gradually, because sometimes when we close our eyes, our day is still playing like a movie. We might be replaying events that have already happened, or imagining what tomorrow might look like. When we finally lay down to rest and things quiet down outside, it can get kind of noisy inside, you know? Now, a good story, some music, some relaxing sounds, these are all great ways to unwind the mind and set the stage for sleep. But it can be hard to just switch gears. So instead we'll start here, in what I think of as an in-between space. Between trying to relax and actually relaxing. A place where you don't have to try too hard, but you can start to shake off some of the day and begin to get comfortable and settled. So we'll just keep it conversational for now. I'll take this moment to share a couple of ways you can support this series. If you like what you hear and it helps you rest, please subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. You can also visit SleepFader.com, where you'll find more about how and why I created this series, a link to support the show with a donation, and you can send me your feedback, which will help me make the show better. That's it. Subscribe to the show and visit SleepFader.com for more. Both are easy ways to help keep the show going. You know, one of the reasons we like a good story is that a good one will distract us from that movie playing in our minds. Music is great for that too. Maybe even better. I've been a musician for most of my life, and whether I'm playing an instrument or just listening, I find it almost always has some effect on my mood, if not my body. Often both. Take this simple drum and bass pattern, for example. I'm just going to play this for a minute or so, while you keep settling into your space and getting ready to slow down and unwind. Now, the amazing thing about music is that regardless of where we are geographically, or how alike or different we are as people, most likely we're feeling or counting the rhythm the same way. And it kind of makes sense that if I play something slow and mellow, and we're paying attention to those sounds, I mean really hearing the sound of those strings and the notes as they pass by, it makes sense that the stuff happening inside of us, our thoughts, our body movements, even our breathing, will begin to relax too. Researchers and music therapists call this musical entrainment. Most of the rest of us just call it chilling out. Alright, hopefully you're in a comfortable way now, and finding that it feels natural to tune into my voice, and to notice other sounds, like the gentle waves you hear now. Now is your time to leave behind concerns of the day, or thoughts of tomorrow, and to open yourself to the story as it unfolds, here and now. Let's take a walk down Sunset Beach. The walking is easier, closer to the water, where the sand is saturated and compressed, and the bare footprints of other beach walkers can be observed. Not long ago, 2 people walked, just a little to the left of where I'm walking now, headed in the same direction. One set of prints is deep and wide. The heels have formed deep impressions, and each toe leaves its own mark, with distinct spaces between. The right foot turned slightly outward with each stride. The other set of prints is much smaller and shallower, the heels barely noticeable at times, the balls of each foot connecting cleanly to the dimples left by a row of small toes. These steps were quicker, nearly 2 sets to each of the larger prints. A parent and child maybe, walking together along the same route, with the ocean waves to the right and the broad incline of the white sandy beach to the left, away from the more crowded areas. Walking away from the parking area and the beach concessions, and away from the places where people have gathered to swim, away from laughing toddlers with their popsicle sticky hands clutching plastic buckets filled with a slurry of sand and salt water, sloshing and spilling as they run back and forth between the foamy waves and the safety of their parents and their older brothers and sisters, who lounge in low beach chairs under brightly colored umbrellas and on top of beach towels that they've spread over the sand. The big ones watch the little ones digging their shallow holes, only to fill them up with the sandy water they've collected in their buckets. The older kids observe the younger kids, who are completely absorbed in this simple communion with nature, running with their buckets back and forth, while nearby gulls carefully observe the bag of potato chips that's been left open beside the cooler. The footprints lead away from this scene and toward the distant cliffside, where more seagulls circle over barnacle-encrusted boulders and rocks, where the beach is mostly empty, aside from scattered sand dollars and shells and pieces of driftwood, tumbled and smoothed by the salty waves over days and weeks, months and years. It's pleasant noticing these adjacent tracks in the sand left by unknown beach wanderers. We can imagine that, like us, they're here to relieve themselves of the burden of doing, thinking, working, or planning. They've chosen instead to simply walk the beach, to point themselves in a direction and move just for the pleasure of it. There's really nothing quite like walking on the beach. Maybe because there are so many sensations to savor out here in this borderland, where the act of moving forward, in the space where land transitions to sea, eases and encourages transitions within us. The breeze feels cool on my face, and my attention shifts toward the water's expanse. Pausing here, taking a moment to consider the comforts offered by the nearness of something so enormous, something so incalculably large as the ocean. How good it feels to exist in the same place at the same time, with an elemental body so vast and unconcerned with the goings-on and doings that occupy our daily lives. Breathing in the briny scent, knowing that when we leave here, after all have gone home and showered off the sand, and probably some of the borrowed tranquility found here, that this place will continue to be as it always is, as it always was. Walking again now with those neighboring footprints. Grateful for them. It feels good to exist in the same place at the same time with these other beach walkers. Looking toward the cliffside, there are two figures, too far ahead to be heard, but close enough to see. It's a mother and her young daughter. They're wearing matching magenta coverings over their bathing suits. They flap and wave in the wind. The mother struggles to hold a large yellow sun hat onto her head. Her free hand is held by her daughter, who stopped to pick up something she's found in the sand. The girl bends down to examine her find, as her mother stands patiently, gazing toward the horizon, where the sky has just begun to show a little more gray than blue, and the waves have just begun to seem a little darker and heavier as the long afternoon turns toward evening. The girl holds her prize up so her mother can see. Whatever it is, it's too small to identify from here. Probably a seashell. Or, if she's been especially lucky, a small piece of sea glass. Dulled and organic looking, polished like a stone. Translucent amber or green. A discovery that's seen a long journey from where it was made. And out to sea. And back again. The mother bends down to look, still holding her hat against the wind. The two share a moment, looking at the treasure, then continue walking along our shared path toward the cliffside. I follow behind, separate yet with them too. There are storm clouds on the horizon now. Not yet close enough to obscure the daylight, but close enough that it's worth considering whether it's time to turn back while there's still time. And yet, still, like the footprints left by the woman and child ahead, and like the ocean's ageless push and pull, I go on, content, satisfied in this moment, and curious to know what I'll find if I allow for those distant clouds and just continue walking. And there, resting, in a shallow cup formed by the young girl's heel, there's something. Crouching down low, balanced on the balls of my feet, I find it's not a shell, not a piece of sea glass, or a bottle cap, or anything else one might expect to see washed up on the beach. It's a guitar pick, delicately shaped in a flat onyx stone, a rounded black triangle with barely visible ribbons of silver that reflect in the diminishing light. Unable to resist, I reach out and grasp the unexpected talisman. And looking up to find the woman and child, I find instead that they've disappeared from view. Standing, I place the pick in my pocket, where I polish it gently between my thumb and forefinger, turning it, feeling its contour and the coolness of the stone, learning its weight. And again, I walk along the water's edge toward the cliffs, where, in the distance, small, soft lights have begun to appear as the storm moves closer and the sun lowers itself into the darkening waves.